I love the One Piece trading card game, and I love spending money on this game efficiently. Buying singles for your deck has always been the most cost-effective way of playing card games. But what if we just throw that all away? In this series, we aim to build a competitive One Piece deck using only official sealed product as well as trading. With a budget of only $30 a week, can we become the king of the pirates? This is One Piece from scratch. So, what are the rules? Each week, we're going to be using our $30 budget to purchase official sealed product, whether it be structure decks, packs, or the like, with the hopes that what we pull will buff our deck. Since we have to play cards that are locked under our leader's color, not everything that we pull will be usable to play like in other card games. So in order to combat this, I've decided to allow for trading. Anything that we pull that we don't plan on using, we can trade it off for something that we can use. Additionally, since people don't usually trade anything under an SR, I've decided to lock guaranteed cards behind some challenges. Every game win will allow us to pick a common card from any set to add to our deck, and every fourth win I can pick a rare card instead from any set. These cards specifically will only be from main sets or side sets, so we can't just pick a structure deck common or a promo common. With everything out of the way, let's get started. So we're going to start this series off with Black Luffy, structure deck 14. I think this deck has a lot going for it right now. It's a really good leader in the OPO 8 meta, and as well, it gets a lot of good stuff with the new Smoker deck coming out, especially with brand new. We can add a lot of the Navy engine, but a lot of the base structure deck has a lot of good playable Straw Hats. So we're going to start with this and then hopefully pivot from a more Straw Hat centric build to a more Navy with a little bit more Straw Hat, with a little bit of Straw Hat in there. But we have two of these structure decks. We're going to open one, and then we're going to build a deck from the two of them. Let's practice some safe scissors. Always cut away. I already have a decent idea of how I'm going to build this deck. So this opening will just be contents of each deck in particular. Okay, so we're starting off with our leader, the Monkey D. Luffy. He reads, down times 1, all your characters gain 1 cost. If you have a cost of 8 or more, this leader gains 1,000 power. So this is really good, especially in the late game. Being able to go up to a 6k power leader with 5 life, at least in the late game, is really good. The only issue we're going to have, at least in the start of this series, is being able to get that 8 cost. But a lot of the stuff that comes in here mainly pertains to increasing cost as opposed to cost reducing your opponent's stuff and then blowing up their bodies. But we do have a little bit of removal. So we have the Sanji, which is one of our pieces of removal. If you have a 6 cost or more, KO one of your opponent's characters with cost of 5 or less. This is going to be a really good card. This is one we're going to definitely want to max out on. We have 2 of these. We have 2 of the blocker Nami. If you have 6 cards or less in your hand and a character with a cost 8 or more, draw 1 card. So this is very good for the late game. Usopp is a KO. Dot times 1 when attacking. When you have a character with cost 8 or more, KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So this comes up for a lot of different blockers. Rebecca, Urosh, and Bonnie. So this is definitely going to be one of the GOAT cards of our sealed deck so far. So this is definitely a 4 of, and good that we have 4 of them in here. Jinbei is one of our cost increasers. Up to one of your Black Straw Hat crew characters gains 2 costs until the end of your opponent's next turn. Unfortunately, Jinbei is not tagged as a Straw Hat, so he cannot give this buff to himself, which is a little bit unfortunate, but being a cost increaser when our game plan is to be at have an 8 cost on the board with a Don on this does help out a lot. We have Chopper, Vanilla 4, 6, Nico Robin, one of the better cards from this deck. It's our only cost reducer to our opponent's cards that we have access to in this deck on play when attacking. If you have a character with a cost of 8 or more, give one of your opponent's characters cost -5 for this turn. So really good. Haridas, I think that's how you say it. This is actually one of the better cards in the deck, and definitely a card we're going to be running and the 2 copies of the structure deck version of this deck because he is a 2k counter. We need as much of that as we can. You may rest this character. Up to one of your Black Straw Hat characters gains cost +2 until the end of your opponent's next turn. Then if you have a character with a cost of 8 or more, draw 1, trash 1. So being able to cycle with this card is awesome. Frankie, another one of the better cards. He's a 5/6 with counter, Dawn ×1 on your opponent's turn when a character with a cost. If you have a character with a cost of 6 or more, this character cannot be KO'd by your opponent's effects and gains 2,000 power. So he's beefier on the opponent's side. You do have to have a cost 6 or higher. Your 1 Dawn on the Luffy does make this a 6, so he is going to have that just off of that. We have a 5/7 Vanilla Brook, which is good. We have 4 copies of that. Hercules, which is just like Horridus, but does not cycle. 2K counter. You may rest this card up to one of your black Straw Hat characters, gains 2 cost until the opponent's next turn. We have the 8-drop 10k Rush Luffy if you have 10 cost or more, but 1 Dawn on this plus stage is 10 cost. And the last character is a 6/8 Vanilla Zoro. Onto the events, we have Gum Gum Giant Rifle. If you have a cost 8 or more character, this one of your leader characters gains 3,000 power during this battle. Very good card. We're definitely going to be playing this at some variety, just as defense. Gum Gum Diablo Gum Gum Diablo 3-sword style Mutant Jet 600-pound Phoenix Cannon. Definitely not going to be wanting to read that all too often, but main up to one of your leader characters gains 3,000 power during this turn. Then if you have a character with cost 8 or more, KO one of your opponent's characters with the cost are 2 or less. So this can be useful for popping blockers and such. So we're going to consider adding this card in some variety as well. I have my crew. Main, draw 1 card, then up to one of your characters gains 3 costs until the end of your opponent's next turn. Really good just to cycle again. And then Thousand Sunny, our stage. All your black Straw Hat characters gain 1 cost. Then if your leader has the Straw Hat type, draw 1 card. So we are going to be able to use this to cycle. That is the content in one of the structure decks. Now we'll get to the completed deck. Alright, so let's go over the deck list. I know some of the lighting is going to be a little bit janky, but here is what I managed to come up with. So of course we're playing the leader Monkey D. Luffy. We'll go put that right there. We're playing all of the 2Ks that came with the structure deck, so the 2K Hercules and the 2K Horridus. Horridus is actually the better of the two. Both of them will increase your Straw Hat character's cost by 2, but Horridus also cycles. Since both characters rest each other to activate their effects, they're kind of like a pseudo blocker, so they're also good for that. But Horridus being able to also allow yourself to cycle is very good. Next up, we've got the SR Nami. She is our blocker, 3/2. She's mainly good in the mid game to sometimes late game. She lets us draw 1 if we have a cost 8 or more, cost 8 or more and 6 cards in hand or less. So no real point in playing her out in the early game, but definitely in the mid to late game she's going to be very strong. Next we have Jinbei, buffs by 2, but it doesn't have to rest itself like our 2K, so that makes it really good. We can just have that stick on board and have it buff our characters. It's really good in the going first curve to be able to buff like a 4 cost. We'll get to that later though. Next we have Usopp, one of our forms of removal. It is on the slower side since it's only 1 attacking, but this is one of our only forms of removal besides the event. We are playing the event, but I think that we should play Usopp. Now, I was considering going down to 3 Usopp to go 4 Chopper, but I think Chopper in the this version of the build is very good. 1 Dawn stage, or like going first, 1 Dawn stage, 3 Dawn, Jinbei, 4 Dawn, Chopper, 1 on leader. That makes it a 8 cost, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, stage gives 8, yeah. So our leader effect is online as early as our 5 Dawn turn with the Tony Chopper. So in future iterations of the build, we might up that, but for now we're playing 3. We're playing 4 of the 5 cost Sanji. It's really good going second. We can slap 1 Dawn on our leader and then play Sanji out, and that will allow us to pop a 5 cost, keeping pace with our opponent. So I think 4 Sanji is correct. Then we have 3 Frankie. I know Frankie is one of the better cards, but I don't really see too much value with him as of right now. He's more on something like a Kikunojo where it's kind of hard to remove it. feasibly, since it does get the 2000 power during your opponent's turn. But overall, I think he's just alright. Next, we have the Nico Robin, the 6/7. This is one of our only forms of cost minus, so I feel like we should put it in there. If we can establish it on 6 or 7 Dawn, I think it's a little bit better on the 7 Dawn, since we can put 1 Dawn on our leader and then still establish this and have this count as our 8 cost to buff our leader. But being able to establish this is going to be very strong comboed with our Usopp as well as our popping events. So I think this is a necessary include plus a test counter. Next, we have 2 of the 6/8 vanilla Zoro. I think 6 cost is a very good stat line to be at for this structure deck, since 1 Dawn on the leader plus the stage will automatically make this an 8 cost, so your leader effect is online. So 2 of the Zoro, we'll see if I want to up that. Still tweaking ratios. Again, I do want to mess around with a little bit more Chopper, potentially more Zoro, but we'll see. And then 2 of the 8 cost 10k Rush Luffy. If you have a 10 cost or more, gains Rush, which is easy, again with our leader effect, or with our leader effect and stage. That is pretty easy. Next, we have 4 I Have My Crew. This lets us draw, so just being able to cycle through our deck as well as give 3 costs until the end of the opponent's next turn can really help our leader effect. Again, with this version of the build, since we don't have too much removal or cost reduction, we really want to play into that, making our leader a 6k for the turn. 2 Gum Gum Giant Rifle for some defense. It's just a 1 cost event. Requires an 8 cost again. That's mainly going to be like more mid game, late game kind of thing. But with I Have My Crew and stage, hopefully we'll be able to have that online a little bit sooner. Just considering how much cost increase we have for our own characters. 2 of the popping event, I am not going to read that, but I see this more as a late game kind of card paired with the Nico Robin. Maybe closer to like a 9 Dawn, 10 Dawn play where we're able to still establish 1 Dawn in our leader and then play the Robin and then play this to pop a 7 cost, or if we have a Robin established already, then swinging with it and then playing this to pop a 7k or a 7 cost. I think that's pretty good. I kind of want to find space for more of these, maybe go down on this, but we're still going to be testing that out. And then the final 4, I guess, are the 1000 Sunny, more cycle, and it's just a static +1 to all of our Straw Hats. Again, since we are playing the Black Luffy, we do have the Straw Hat type, so we can draw a card that makes it really strong. So yeah, a lot of our cards say give cost, and a lot of our cards say draw. So even though we don't have a searcher, I think this should be a solid list just coming out of the gate with 2 structure decks. We'll see how it does against a few of the decks in the matches. So this is where we would take our deck to locals to see how it would perform, but unfortunately we were unable to attend this week, so we're going to be playing some friendly games at home. I'm going second. Our opponent, playing Katakuri, passes it on his 1 Dawn turn. We establish stage and then play our Hiatus. Katakuri plays Onami to give his leader Banish, and then he's going to swing 7, and it's a little hard to give 3k counter on this pretty early, so I believe we do just take the hit there. Passing turn to us, we're going to put 1 Dawn on our leader. Unfortunately, our leader effect is not going to be active, and then swing, and then establish the Usopp. On Katakuri's 5 Dawn turn, he's going to attach 1 Dawn to his leader and swing 7k into our life, and fortunately we are able to add this card to our hand as opposed to trash it, but then he does establish the Kikunojo. Since we're at 3 life, that Kikunojo is going to be super annoying to deal with, so instead we're going to play more defensively, 1 Dawn on our lead, and our goal here is to push Usopp to 8 cost. And we do actually have the pieces to get us there, so our leader is giving our Usopp 1 cost, our stage is giving Usopp 1 cost, Hiatus is able to give 2 costs to him, and then the 1 cost event is also going to give 3 costs, so now our leader effect is online. Usopp's Dawn ×1 is going to let us poke for 5 and KO that the Onami rather. Pretty easy 1k counter coming out of the hand of Katakuri, and then we're going to swing that 7 with our lead because our leader effect is active. We do get 3k counter out of hand from Katakuri. That was the 0 cost event, as well as the Blaze Slicer as the kicker to discard. We do establish another Usopp because we know that our current Usopp, our rested Usopp, is going to get knocked out. 5 swing with Katakuri leader into our Usopp. We're going to let that go. That swing is not going into our leader because our leader is currently a 6, and this is the 7 Dawn turn, so it's pretty telegraphed that a 7-drop Mom is coming down. But we are able to give 1k counter for that Kiko Nojo swing. And we are going to be trashing the top of our life. We don't want to send our opponent to 5 life here. If we had the means to control the board a little bit more and keep pace with our opponent, we would have considered giving him the life, but that's just not in the cards for this game right now. So moving on to my turn, 1 Dawn on lead, and that is 6 Dawn for the Vanilla Zoro. So with stage and our leader effect, that is going to be an 8 cost Zoro on the field, meaning our leader effect is active. We are going to be a 6 on our opponent's turn. And that was Horatius effect to give our Usopp some extra cost and then draw 1, trash 1. We're really just looking for the cycle here since we know that our Zoro is going to act as our 8 cost. And then 1 Dawn on our Usopp to swing in, poke for 5, and then poke for 7. Both swings go through. The Nami trigger is going to pick off the Horatius, discarding the Blaze Slice, which is a little unfortunate. That means we have less cycle. We don't really need it to be boosting our character's costs anymore since we do have the 6 cost Zoro on the board as a way to get one of our characters to 8 cost. Katakuri more on the aggressive right now, swinging with the Kiko Nojo, and then now with the leader for 8, and we counter out of the first one, and then that 7-drop Mom swinging in for another 8. We take this here, and that is another 7-drop Mom. That is really the nail on the coffin for this match. Kind of just playing out the game to play out the game, but realistically we lost as soon as we saw that 7-drop Mom come down. We're going to 1 Dawn on lead to get our Zoro up to 8 cost and our leader effect online, swing 7 into lead. That's going to be met with counter, and we just scoop it here. On top of that, our opponent had 2 Ks in their life, so we really didn't have it here. On to game 2, we're going second again. On Katakuri's first turn, they're going to play the Pudding, finding the 7-drop Mom. Onto our 2 Dawn turn, we're going to establish stage and then play the Horatius, exactly the same as we did last game. Coming up on Katakuri's 3 Dawn turn, they're just going to attach 3 to the Pudding, swing 5. That's going to be met with some counter. And then another 5 from leader Katakuri is going to get met with counter again. So we have absolutely no mid-game, early game plays. Unfortunately for me, I have absolutely no early game plays for this turn, so we just attach 4 and swing 9 into lead, and that is a Satori out of our opponent's life, trashing the Kiko Nojo to stick it on board. Katakuri able to maintain a lot of early board presence, especially with that Satori dropping. We're going to see a poke of 5 into life, and unfortunately I do not have a good hand right now. So that is a card from life to hand, and I am reading this card. I did not know that the 2-drop event had a trigger, but the trigger does require that you have an 8-drop on board, so we're unable to use it. And then Gadatsu to pop our Horatius. That really hurts. I'm pretty sure here I really needed it to boost up our character to 8 cost, so our leader effect is online and we needed the cycle. But instead we try and establish the Nico Robin. Coming into Katakuri's 7 Dawn turn, we do know that the Mom was in hand. That was the first turn search, so we're going to expect some swings from the smaller bodies, and unfortunately again my hand does not look very good, so we're going to take the 6 swing from Gadatsu. That is the 1 cost event. That trigger lets us KO a 3 cost or less. And then 2 Dawn on the Satori does connect, and then another 7 swing from leader Katakuri. That does mean that the 7-drop Mom is not going to be coming down this turn, but the 7 swing is going to be met with counter, and then Akiko Nojo comes down. And at this point, we're losing a lot of tempo. We're going to try and clean up the board a little bit, so 1 Dawn on our leader makes our Nico Robin an 8 cost, turning on our leader effect, and then we're going to be attaching a Dawn to our Nico Robin, and then swinging into the Gadatsu, I believe, lowering the Satori by 5 cost. We do have the 2-drop event in our hand, so we're going to use that to pop the Satori. And additionally, that does give our leader 3k power for the turn, so we're going to swing, 10k into life, and of course he's going to take that there. And we pass the turn over to Katakuri, and now they are on their 9 Dawn turn. So let's see, that is going to be a 12 swing into life, and then we do counter out of that with the 1 cost defensive event, and I believe that is 2 1ks. Katakuri, recognizing that they're no longer able to go for game, instead swings the leader into our Nico Robin to try and control the board. And here we really have nothing going on, so we're going to use the 1 cost event just to draw. And then using the 5-cost Sanji to pop the Kikunojo. That's going to seem really weird because that gives our leader or our opponent another life. But that does mean that our opponent is less incentivized to go for game since they only have one swing and we do have one life left. It's actually funny because my hand actually did not have counter, so one reality where we did lose on this turn is that our opponent plays 10-drop Mom and then swings 5k with their leader for game. Instead, a 7-drop Linlin comes down, we give them the life, and then the swing gets met with a card out of life. Back to us, we're at the point where we absolutely do not have game, but we're kind of just stalling it out just to play it out. That is the 6-drop Nico Robin, and as well as the 2-cost event to pop the 7-drop Linlin. 1 Dawn on our leader, or 2 Dawn on our leader, that 8k into life does trigger the Nekomamushi, and then the 7k into life, no trigger there. And then, yeah, we're just going to lose right here. 16 onto their leader, swing into life, and that is GG. Coming into the final game of the video, again, we are going second. Our opponent drops the Flampe to grab a life and then draw a card, which I think is very interesting, but we'll see if it pays off in the end. I do not have much on my first turn. We're actually trying to dig a little bit deeper using our 1-cost event, and then Harada setting that up. 3 Dawn on Katakuri lead and swing into life. That is going to be 5k counter out of hand, which is a little too much to ask for again early in the early game, so we're just going to take this hit, and they do keep their life on the top there. Coming into the 4 Dawn turn, we're feeling pretty good. We've got a play here, so we're going to poke for 5 at first and then establish the chopper. We're sure that the next turn, if it survives, that we are able to get our leader effect online, especially with Haradus. But unfortunately, our opponent does play the set 8 Nami, so he's going to pop that, discarding Kikunojo for cost, and then poke again for 5. That throws off our play a lot because we were really planning to use that leader effect on our next turn, but we're going to throw away that Jinbei as counter since now we don't need it. We don't have the chopper established anymore to give it cost to turn our leader effect online. So instead, we're going to use the 5-cost Sanji to pop the Nami, and now we're really in control here. We are keeping up with tempo and removing bodies at the same time. With a Dawn on our leader pushing our Sanji up to 6 cost, we're going to use that Haradus to give our Sanji up to 8 cost, allowing us to draw 1 and trash 1 with Haradus' effect. And on top of that, we're going to swing 7 into life here, and then our opponent does trigger the Parasparrow. That Parasparrow does give him a little bit more board presence, but I don't think we're feeling all too threatened. The 1k swing into Haradus with Flampe does hurt, so that means again we're not being able to cycle using that Haradus anymore. Parasparrow swinging 8 is going to be a take, and then the Katakuri leader is going to swing 9, checking the top of his life, and I'm pretty sure he keeps it there. Let's see. Thinking on that, and yep, he keeps it there, and then that's going to be 4k counter, so we're just going to take it instead. Passing back over to us, we're feeling pretty good still. We're going to put 1 Dawn on our leader and actually make a huge misplay here. So right now I have 8 cards in hand. To draw with Nami, you need to have 6 cards in hand at the time that you play her. So I use 1 Dawn for the 1-cost event, buffing our Sanji up so we have at least an 8 cost on field. And in my mind, it was going to drop our hand size of 8 down to 7, but since the event also draws us 1, we're back to 8. Our plan was to play the Nami here. So if we do play the Nami, then we're going to be over the threshold of 6 cards in hand. We'll be at 7, so we won't be able to draw. So there we swung 6 into the Parasparrow to remove some of the pressure on board, and he does get another 7-drop Mom. And here comes the Nami. We're not able to draw, but it's alright because we have a second Nami, so this one's going to be able to draw because that dropped us down from 7 cards in hand to 6. Passing turn back, we are going to see the 7-drop Linlin hit the field, and we're feeling really good about trashing a life here, especially because on the defense we're going to be a 6k leader, and we are going to have 2 blockers on the field. Even though Katakuri just established a larger body, we're not really feeling threatened because of the blockers. Katakuri swings 8 into life, checking his own life, keeping it there, and this is what I'm saying. I'm not really feeling threatened, we're just going to give one of the blockers. Coming back to my turn, I know I've got some shenanigans in my hand, and I really can't wait for you to see this. Back to a hand size of 8, we need to get 1 card out of our hand if we want to play another Nami, so we're going to spend 1 Dawn for the Haradus, and Haradus is actually going to let us cycle again, giving +2 cost to Sanji, so now he's an 8k, also turning on our leader effect. So again, we're feeling really good. We're feeling really defensive. We're not in any immediate threat of losing the game here. Deciding what card we're going to pitch, it's going to be the Zoro. We don't have enough time to establish it, so I'm fine with losing that card. It is a little bit of counter out of our hand, but it's fine. So we're going to swing the 6 into life, and that's going to be the Onami, popping one of our Namis, and then 7k into life, and that's going to be met with, let's see, oh, nope, okay, so we actually swung for 9. That was a little bit of a mistake there, but we caught it. And then he gives us 2 2s and a 1, so we're feeling really good about that. So here we're going to rest 3 Dawn and play the Nami. We do have an 8 cost on the field in Sanji, and we have 6 cards in hand, so that is going to be a draw off the Nami. And we actually do play another Nami here. We actually saw all 4 Namis this game, which is absolutely insane. Passing it back to Katakuri, they're going to swing their 1k Flampe into our Hieratus, which is going to get them off the field, and then they're going to Blaze Slicer, resting our Nami, as well as giving their leader 1k power for the turn. We still feel really good. We do have another Nami for a little bit of extra defense. And then that is going to be an 11k swing into life. And I'm pretty sure we do counter out of this. We have a large hand here from the Namis being able to draw us into a lot of more cards. And in the end here, we do end up giving 6k counters in 2 2ks and 2 1ks. And again, that is one of the strengths of this Black Luffy leader, being able to alleviate a little bit of the offensive pressure from being a 6k on the opponent's turn. We are going to see a large swing from Katakuri, but it's just going to be eaten by our blocker. So coming back to me, we're going to spend 1 Dawn on the stage to draw 1 card, and then we're going to put 1 Dawn on our leader. We currently are not a 7k for this turn because we don't have an 8 cost plus on our field yet. We're going to swing 6 into their leader, and they're going to give us 2k counter. And at this point, we have 8 Dawn. We're going to turn all 8 Dawn sideways for the Rush Luffy. That is going to count himself as a 10 cost, so we will have Rush. We're going to swing that into the Big Mom. Really feeling good that they don't have enough counter to get out of that swing since they just used 2k to protect their life. And then that is a 7k swing into life. We're going to be able to guarantee a crackback because we have that Nami there, unless they find a way to rest it. Even then, they would need another body to swing with, so it could be the Flampe, but we're feeling really good. So that's going to be a 10 drop Mom coming down, so this is going to be our last turn here. And right now, I'm feeling really good. Our opponent has 2 cards in hand, 2 life, so we need 3 of our swings to connect, and we have 4 bodies. It's really going to be just a game of math. So we're going to start with a 7k swing with our leader, and that's going to give us the 2k and a 1k from our opponent's hand. So now seeing that our opponent's hand is empty, we're just going to swing 5 with our blocker Nami, and then we're going to swing 7 with our Sanji, and they're going to take that. I think they're considering a trigger at this point. The only lose con is if that card is beige, but fortunately for us it is not, so that is going to be a 15k swing for game. GG. So we actually managed to take a game there, which really surprised me, but that means we're going to be able to add a common card of our choice from one of the sets to our deck. We are going to be a little bit more slow moving for a while until we can get our hands on some cost reduction and cost-based removal, but our current strategy of trying to establish an 8 cost for our leader effect isn't the worst. If you made it to the end, I sincerely want to say thank you for watching. This is going to be really experimental for me, so if you have any comments or critiques, please let me know. And with that, I'll see you in the next episode.